Hey, what's up, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Business Inside Out podcast. With me as your host, I'm Dr. Daniel Kimbley, as you know, and let's jump right into it. So one of the things, I actually put out a reel on Instagram this week that talked about overcoming objections. And as I was listening to the reel, I realized that I probably could have given a ton more detail and more than that 90 seconds about exactly how to overcome objections. And if you're anything like me, especially if you're a chiropractor, then you've seen that there are like cards that they advertise on Facebook where you can, or on Instagram, where they are like helping you flip the card over and then it's a question and you have to overcome the objection, right? And while I think that's not necessarily a bad idea, I think there's a way better idea than to just simply anticipate objections and then practice like eliminating those objections by answering the question. And in my head, the question always came up is like, what if we just understood our people better so that when I have a conversation with them on the front end, I can literally take them all the way through a process where their objections just go away. So then when it's time for them to make a decision, there are no objections, there are no questions to answer because I preloaded by answering every single one of their questions that I knew they were going to have because I understand the patient psychologically. So what does this mean and why does it matter for you? I think it matters for you because oftentimes, I see chiros who do an amazing job on the front end of like educating their patients. And then they get to the point where they have to ask them for money or ask them to commit to a care plan. And hopefully it's a long-term care plan because we know that's what gets results in any aspect of life. And if you disagree with me, I was having a conversation with our pastor yesterday and I said, Pastor Mark, listen dude, like, you don't just read the Bible once a month, like you do it every single day. Why do you do it every single day? Because it matters. Why do you go to the gym every day? Because it matters, because that's how you get results. The same is true with chiropractic care. We don't ask people to come every day and get off my soapbox, but this idea, right, that like people should be committing to care, not just one adjustment, in my opinion. It's going to increase LTV, it's going to increase your authority, you're going to get better results with people. There's a bunch of stuff that come from that. That could be a whole other episode of the podcast. So overcoming objections, we get back to that. Overcoming objections matters because when you sit down with someone, I believe that when you're doing a consultation, one of the things that you should be doing is writing down the things that these people believe that are not true about the care that you provide. If you talk to someone about chiropractic and you're listening to them, and this is in the context of your office, but it can also be out in public as well, people are going to share the things that they have false beliefs about when it comes to chiropractic care. Like all the time I hear people say that like, oh, I just have tight hamstrings. Well, the reality is like your hamstrings are only tight because your brain's telling them to be tight. So they have this belief that stretching is gonna fix my tight hamstrings, right? So as I'm doing a consultation with someone, I'm literally writing down like every single thing that they believe to be true about what it is we do that's not actually true. And this matters because if I can start to break down all of those beliefs on the front end, I get them to a place when I go to do my report of findings with them that they have no other questions because it's all been answered, because they understand every single little bit of it. And I had a conversation, what spurred this podcast, this idea for me, is that I had a conversation with my associate doctor a few weeks ago where I was like, hey, people are asking you a lot of questions when you're getting into like right before you're about to present the financials. That should not happen. Like there should be no questions. When you go to present the financials, you should be able to talk uninterrupted. Because there are no questions, because everything has been answered, and you can literally start to eliminate objections. So the question then becomes, is like, well, how would I do that? And the answer is through two different things. One is framing a conversation, which I talk about in extensive detail in my upcoming book that I'm releasing. Stay tuned for details about that if you're interested in learning more. I guarantee you'll be a game changer. I'm sharing literally every single thing that we use inside of our practice to increase LTV, to increase retention, to attracting your ideal patients so that you don't have to go chase them anymore. And I would love to share it with you as soon as it's ready. So be on the lookout for that. I'll be posting more about that soon. But neither here nor there. Framing is one of those things. Framing is a way to get people to trust you, to get to build authority. And the other thing is by identifying false beliefs that people have about what it is that you do. Now, there are a number of ways to do this, but I think the most important way is to simply listen. Like simply listen to what your clients or your patients are telling you or saying or asking you, and then figure out how you can break those beliefs down. Like regularly, if you listen to my Nexus podcast that's for the public, about chiropractic, like literally every single episode is just this, right? I just recorded an episode where I talked about this idea of like so many people believe they're like, I had somebody say to me, they go, I'm so glad I never had to go to a chiropractor. Well, that's a false belief. Like, everybody should want to go. And I share my story in that episode, but if we don't break those false beliefs, then we have somebody who's just going to think that it's a thing that I need for neck pain, back pain, and headaches. If it's not that, then I don't go. And if you use chiropractic care in that way, then I would encourage you to just not listen to the podcast anymore, because this is about so much more than that. This is about changing people's lives. This is about uplifting people's health and longevity and happiness and increasing presence, productivity, profit. What it comes down to, though, is being able to identify false beliefs, because when you can identify false beliefs, those are the objections. But the way that most people are taught to do it is like, well, I'm just going to do my thing the way I think it should be done, and I'm going to talk about chiropractic, and I'm going to spew it all on them, and I'm going to use the word subluxation, and I'm going to confuse people, and I'm going to do all this stuff, and then they have all these questions at the end, and if they have questions at the end, then I'm going to try and break all those questions. Like, the way better way to do it is to know somebody before they step into your office. Like, through our paperwork, through our initial phone call, through our intake process, like everything that we are doing with our patients is designed to allow us to get to know them on a deeper level. Why? So that we can identify where they're at, so we can identify what beliefs they have, we can identify what beliefs need to be broken, so that they either say, you are a great fit for me, and I want to be here, and I'm all in, I don't care what it costs, or they're like, this is not my style, I want to go somewhere else. And the goal is to get the person to say, I want to go somewhere else as quickly as possible. If they're not a good fit for you, there's no sense in chasing them. You'll waste your time, you'll waste your energy, you'll get exhausted, you'll get burnt out, you'll be frustrated. Trust me, I was there. A way better way to do it is to start to figure out, how do I talk to my ideal client in a way that I understand their false beliefs, that I break all their objections, that I'm communicating to them in a language that they understand, that in the back of their head they're going, how do they know me on such a deep level? Like, every single thing they said resonated with me on such a deep level. And when you can do that, objections will go away. When you can show them that you are the authority and that it's different for them what they came in for, the objections will go away, and people will have no choice but to either say, this is not at all what I was looking for, I'm gone, or they'll say, I'm all in. And there's no in between. There's no, maybe let me think about it, let me talk to my husband. There's none of that. It's literally just, let's go, I'm in, this is going to be a game changer, or not. And it's as simple as that. So start identifying false beliefs, because when you start to identify those false beliefs, you'll start to overcome objections. And like I said, the point of this episode is to realize that there are two ways that you can do it. Is you can wait until there's an issue, and then address all the objections at the end. This is just like the patient who comes into you who you're super frustrated with. Is like, dude, you could have avoided this thing completely if you would have just come in a long time ago. The same is true with your care and the way that you run someone through your intake process. Is like, why would you wait until there's an issue and an objection on the back end to address it? Like, that's a symptom, right? So we're not going after symptoms, we're going after the cause. So if we go after the cause, we go after it on the front end. If you're a chiropractor, this is why I call this the Business Inside Out podcast, because we're literally taking the way that we do practice and looking at it from the inside out, the same way that we look at the body. So if you're going, okay, there's a symptom, which is the objection, there were a bunch of things that happened before the objection that you could have overcome. And until you understand the psychology, until you understand the way that your people think, this is not a conversation about understanding your ideal client and where they live and how much money they make and what their age is and whether they're male or female. Those are demographics. I'm talking about psychology, the way someone thinks. And the deeper you can get into the mind of the people that you understand and that you work with, and you start to communicate with them in an authentic way that speaks to their core, in a way that they go, man, they get me, and I don't even understand how, but like everything they're saying just resonates so much. I guarantee you that it will change the game and it will change your practice, and objections will go away. So then you don't need the cards to be able to like, I need to overcome these objections, because in the process of everything that you're doing along the way, you will be able to overcome those objections. My friends, what I would encourage you to do is figure out where your patient's false beliefs. Meet them where they are, start to break those false beliefs before, like I said, in my book, in other episodes of the podcast, I have a free 5-part marketing series where I talk specifically about how to break these false beliefs, how to overcome them, how to identify them, all those things, so you never have another objection and you only have people who are all in with you or all out with you under care, so that you can start to have the practice of your dreams and see people who you absolutely love seeing and make more money than you ever thought imaginable. I love you. I appreciate you. If you got some value out of this, do me a couple things. 1, share it up. 2, leave a rating and leave a review. And 3, subscribe to me on YouTube if you're interested in watching this video as well. And I will come at you again next week. Peace.